Welcome back. We're discussing a plethora of issues and current events here on our panel, and joining us to have that discussion is Mike Patton and Michelle Simard. Thank you both for joining me today. We're going to shift gears from the kafia debate and or ban in the Ontario legislature and discuss something that's coast to coast affecting Canadian university campuses and college campuses. There is a growing presence of pro-Palestinian encampments at our post-secondary institutions. Michelle, why don't you start us off with this one? Explain what is happening. This seemed to be like a U.S. phenomenon, but now we're seeing this happening in Canada. What's going on, Michelle?
Yeah, so I think, like most things that happen in the US, it obviously bleeds over into Canada. And so now, in the last week or so, we're having a whole bunch of university students who are creating encampments. Encampments are not just a protest where they actually like have fences, tents, and people stay there and they protest. They essentially kind of live there, essentially, hence the word encampment. And right now, this is what's happening. And while they're doing these encampments, they're making demands. They're not requests, they're not protesting per se of specific issues. They actually have demands, and the universities are not giving into these demands and asking the encampments to be put down. And if they're not, they'll have to be taken down.
So, Mike, she mentions demands. What sort of demands is she referring to? What do these students
Well,
want?
this is echoing what's going on in the United States, and the student groups are asking for two things. First of all, for the universities to disclose what sort of investments they have in Israel, and secondly, to divest. So they want them to sell whatever investments they have in Israel.
As a university, like pension or for the
Yeah, well,
endowment
as
fund?
whether it's pension funds, any sort of investments, or scholarship funds is another one. A lot of times, estates will donate large amounts of money to their alma maters, and that money is invested to keep a long-term scholarship going. And there is a belief, I think it's kind of fake, but there is a belief that this will put pressure on the Israeli government because, let's face it, McGill's investments in Israel are very influential to the prime minister. That this will cause them to think twice about the military action in Gaza.
So, Michelle, I've read that there are now some hunger strikes happening, that the encampments are growing. A lot of these students aren't. Some people might think they're like ethnically, from the Middle East. They're not. So, I guess I have two questions. One, are they working? And two, who are these students?
To be honest, I don't know. I think many of the students. I think sometimes it's friends of students, and I also think it's paid people to be there and do that. So for me, I think my issue is that there's one thing to protest and have free speech, and there's another thing to have an encampment and make demands. There's a proper process if you want to have civil disobedience, and there's a proper process if you want things to be changed. This isn't it. It's just like the employees who decided to, do a protest, as they called it, but really it's another encampment inside an executive's office, asking for Google to divest out of Israel. Like, this is a place of work. Keep your political matters to yourself and go to work. If you want to protest about Google, do it on your own time. You don't do it in somebody's office while they're trying to get their job done. It's the same kind of concept here. And there was a recent poll that said the majority of Canadians are not happy about this because really a lot of parents, they send their kids there and they're hoping their kids are getting an education, not that their kids are blocked from getting into school and studying or not even allowed to take their exams there anymore for their own safety reasons.
But some of these encampments are not in university offices. They're actually in open fields. Mike, I'll throw this to you. What is so scary about having a demonstration or encampment in an open field? I mean, what is the concern here, really?
Well, there's a couple of things. As far as the universities go, it's a disruption to their physical space, and that it's private property. So you should not be allowed to set up an encampment on private property without the permission of the owner. But the key thing here is there's money behind this. This is not just happening organically. Somebody's paying for this. And the real key here is to follow the money. I believe that there's foreign money involved in this, and this is really much more of a proof of concept of how to put pressure on the Canadian government using students. And I think that's where this is coming from. It's got way less to do with Gaza than I think it is a test by foreign governments to put pressure on the Trudeau government.
And what do they expect the Trudeau government will do, Mike? We have 20 seconds.
Well, the Trudeau government needs those young people to vote for them. And if those young people are pissed off at the Trudeau government and they don't vote for them, or they don't vote at all in the next federal election, it's going to be very difficult for the Liberals to win.
Okay, very interesting takeaways there. We're going to be back after this commercial break with another topic. We'll see you in a bit.